Hi everybody, Russ and My Hammers 11. Hope you're all safe and well. If you use channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you're made aware of any time you put new content on. Obviously, we have videos going up daily, but sometimes maybe get 2 or 3. Maybe I'm feeling generous. Maybe we turn over Tottenham at the weekend. We might put a couple extra on. So make sure you hit the bell icon so you're made aware any time we put new content on. Today's guest is very happy because his side won 5-0 away yesterday, and it was, as he said before, it was probably the best result for 20 years in the club's history. Still wasn't happy. Still wanted 6 or 7 and 8, he told me. But it's all the Shottown manager and also former West Ham youth team coach as well. It's Danny Earle. Hi, Danny. How are you? Sorry, Danny Searle. Sorry, Danny. I've had it in my head. Earle. It's Danny Searle. How are you?
It's okay, mate. I'm used to it. I'm very well, thanks, Russ. Just pleased to be on the show, mate. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's good. Obviously, we had Anwar on a couple of months ago now, and he's like, "You gotta get Danny on. Danny would love it. He'd love it." So I'm glad we finally managed to find the time, because you're a busy man, with everything that's going on at the moment. How is it all going on at Aldershot at the moment?
Yeah, no, I think it's the same for a lot of clubs. I mean, the finances that have been kind of determined by the lockdown and the lack of fans has caused a lot of clubs a lot of problems, and we're no different from that. But we're fortunate; we've got a really good backroom staff. We've got a good board in place, and the supporters have been fantastic. And everyone's pitching in to try and make it as a smoother ride as it possibly can be. But like everyone, it's got its pitfalls. But it is what it is. I think we can all bitch and moan about how bad everything is, but we're fortunate. We're playing games again, and I think the government have jumped in with a rescue package to help clubs. So we're fortunate and blessed to be in the situation we're in. So I'm not going to complain too much about it.
No, exactly. And as we said, 5-0 away yesterday weren't too bad against Dover.
As I said to you before, I was a bit disappointed we didn't score more, to be honest. But yeah, I think if you'd have said to me before the game you're going to win 5-0, I'd have knocked your hand off. I'd have bit your feet off as well. But we're over the moon, and I think the lads deserve something, because we should have had more points on the board anyway. But the National League, like most leagues at that level, it's ruthless, and you can switch off for 20 seconds and lose everything you've worked for. So, great result, great team performance, and on to the next one.
On to the next one. Yeah, I mean, there's that National League. There's some big teams like obviously yourselves and Hartlepool and Stockports and Notts County and all that. There's some big teams in that National League, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the majority of the teams have played in the league, and if you look at, even when you start adding Wrexham's, Barnet, Dagenham, the list goes on. And I think from our perspective, it's going to be an interesting year, because there's some teams that have clearly seen this as an opportunity to go for it, and they've thrown astronomical money at the players and signings, etc. And there's other teams that have, like ourselves, that have had to be very conservative and make sure that the most important thing is that the club's survival is at the forefront of all of our thoughts. So it's going to be an interesting year. Tough one, but an interesting one.
Definitely. And I mean, during lockdown, it must have been, obviously we've seen how the other half have done it, like with all the Amazon All or Nothing with Spurs and Jose with his wall of Zoom calls. What about you? How did you sort of keep in touch with the guys during that lockdown period? Because it must have been really awkward.
Yeah, well, we kind of looked at what they did, to be fair, because I mean, we haven't got the 150-inch plasma screens that they've got in the training ground, but what we have got is Zoom, and we did that. We spoke to the players on a regular basis. We put 2 sessions on a week, football based, which they could do even if they were in the living room, if they didn't have access to grass or whatnot. We did a couple of social events. We did some S&C stuff. We did some yoga. We just tried to keep it fresh, and players sort of focused. And because one thing that footballers like is routine. They like that they're used to getting up and doing certain things at certain times, and it ended up opening up to everybody. So we ended up pretty much doing Zoom calls 6 out of 7 days, and players from all other clubs, all different levels, were joining in. And yeah, for us, it was, even for my own sanity, to be honest, having something to be able to get up to and focus on and plan for, it was good. But as I said, fortunately, we were I didn't actually find lockdown that bad, to be honest. It's great to spend some time with the family.
Yeah.
And I live in the middle of nowhere, so we got out in the fresh air and go for
That's
some
good.
walks and stuff, and try and regroup your thoughts on what was an interesting year and trying to plan for the next one. So everything was good in our end.
Yeah,
Our end.
I know what you mean. I know it was nice to sort of, obviously, I 9 to 5. I'm in the city really, so it was nice to not having to go into the city and spending that extra time, with my daughter. And as you said, sort of, I liked it, to be honest. I did like it because I'm pretty lazy, to be honest. Apart from West Ham, I'm proper lazy. And it's like, when like your wife will say, "Oh, what should we can do this weekend? Oh, it's going to be. Let's not waste the weekend." And it's like, well, for 3 months we couldn't do anything, so I had to sit there and watch Netflix and stuff. And so for me it was like, it was brilliant. I fucking loved it. That's why I came up with the channel, so I had something to do to keep myself busy. But no, yeah, it's and it's weird at the moment, obviously, with everything going back, and particularly the Premier League and obviously all the sort of the league football, and it's just very strange. I mean, when you're watching, obviously you probably watch loads of football as well, and as well as sort of the National League, obviously the Premier League and stuff. Are you a crowd noise on or off person?
I've tried to do both,
Really?
depending on the game, because, for example, I like to listen to what the benches are
Sure.
saying. I like to
Yeah.
listen to what any feedback off the pitch. I think it's a great lesson for young players to hear how vocal some senior players are. I think we've got a generation of players coming through now that are naturally quiet. I don't think the dressing rooms were like what they were when I played, and you had all these big personalities, and there's a lot of shouting and screaming, and genuinely, I'm not saying I think that's the right way. I think it's important that everyone gets an opportunity to prepare the way they want to prepare. But you watch a lot of the young players now; they like to put their headphones in. They like to watch YouTube clips of players, their favourite players and stuff, and whatever makes them relax and able to perform, to be honest. But it's good to listen to some of the information coming from the benches. But then there were some games where I wanted the crowd on, because I thought that, like, so when West Ham played Arsenal, I wanted to hear the crowd because it's a London derby. And but yeah, I think that I've tried to almost like a hybrid of, depending on the game, just picking and choosing which one I wanted to do.
Yeah, and I was watching a guy from the Hammers chat, Gonzo, who's doing his little videos he does in the morning, and he made a really good point about he called it noisy moisy, and obviously switching it off, you can hear, really appreciate how much, particularly the West Ham bench, shout. And it's not just him, it's Piercy, it's Alan Irvine, it's Kevin Nolan, it's all of them shouting. And I think it makes a big difference because there's no excuse for the players, because they can hear you. It's not 60,000 people in London Stadium, so they can get their point across. And it makes a good point. I was like, yeah, do you know what? That might be. It's obviously since restart, apart from a couple of games, West Ham, we've done all right. Being quite confident in our play, which has obviously shocked a few people. But no, it is weird, isn't it? And so it's like when I'm at the stadium now, it's so quiet that you can hear the journalists tapping on their laptops. So it's just deathly. So I have to put like a on those YouTube watch-alongs or something, just to have something in the background. Otherwise, it's just bizarre. It is bizarre. And yeah, well, we'll see how long it continues. We don't know. So who knows? Who knows?
I think, but I think with the Moisey one, it's interesting because fans want passion, and when you hear the bench, and like they've been, take away the first game of the season. Actually, since the lockdown, West Ham have been pretty good, if not very good. But they should have got something at Arsenal. I think they deserve something at Arsenal. They absolutely annihilated Wolves, and they did the same. They almost did to Leicester what Leicester did to everybody when they won the league, and it was impressive. And I think that if would we want a little bit more backing in the sense of some players coming in through the door, probably. But then players are performing at the minute, and I look at the right back they've signed, and I think that everybody and their brother thought, who the hell is this guy? And typical West Ham signing. When you go back to remember the days of when we brought in Vadachoyu and Dumas and Paulo Futra, and we brought all those players in. Everyone's like, "Who are these guys?" No one's ever heard of them. But then I thought he was excellent, and long may that continue. So, but no, I think with the noise that comes from the bench, I think you want your your staff and your manager to portray how they want their players to play. And I think what Moyes has done is shown that there's real passion coming from the staff. So why shouldn't it come from the players?
True, no, definitely, and I think you're totally right. And I love a manager. Well, I love a manager. I know you're the same. You're in a track. You wear your tracksuit. I don't like a suited manager. Do you know what I mean? I just think there's something about Moyes. He's always in his tracksuit, and he's that's why I never really took to Pellegrini much, because he was always like, you could tell the games he couldn't give a shit on because he'd be in a tracksuit for that game, and it's like, well, you're playing Man City next week, and you're suited and booted. It's all so it just. You could tell the games.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just can't do it.
It was actually a question. It was actually one of the questions they asked me in my job interview for Aldershot.
Really?
What type of manager are you? Are you a tracksuit manager, or are you a shirt and tie manager, or a suit manager? They actually asked me that in my interview, and I think that look, I'm not saying that hopefully if I manage to have a career that long, when I get into my later stages, that I might end up being in some kind of casual wear. I think Pep looks quite cool. To be fair, he's got a decent wardrobe going on there, but. I think I might need to stick a few Champions League trophies in the cabinet first before I start experimenting with my wardrobe. I'm quite comfortable in my tracksuit.
Yeah,
I like being on the grass. So
yeah, and I just think it just makes a massive difference for the fans if the manager's on the side ranting and raving. It just does. I mean, even if the players, when the fans are there, they probably the players can't hear it if they're at the other touchline, but. It breeds, that they're at halftime if the team aren't performing, they're going to get ripped. They're going to get ripped in the dressing room, and that. And that's what I think. It's quite good at West Ham now because we've got a lot of scary people in the, and I think we've had too often we've had quite sort of, in terms of like Slav, bless him, but he was everyone's mate, and he was like, I never thought if we were playing poorly he'd rip the hairdryer treatment. And I think we're sort of a little bit old school like that with West Ham fans. It's like as you said, I mean even like someone like Jose, you've seen him at that Tottenham thing and just ripping shreds out of him sometimes, and it's like, do you know what, I think you've got to be scared of the manager sometimes. Put your arm around him, be friendly, and then
and that's the balance, isn't it? I think for me, Kevin Nolan was a good appointment. When I was fortunate to work there when he was captain, and I thought he was an outstanding captain. He basically did a lot of Sam's work for him, and I think that when you look at the respect he commanded from not just the players but the staff and all of the subsidiary staff as well around the training ground, I think that one thing he will bring to the dressing room is a real kind of empathy for the players, because he's been there, he knows the situation, he knows what West Ham's about, he knows how ruthless the fans can be. And I think what he also understands is that, he's a winner. For all of his criticisms that he's had over the years, he scores goals, he's been a part of successful teams, and I think that you can't learn that on a course, and you can't be taught that. That's something that you've got to experience, and I think that I think he's done well getting him in.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And
although he hasn't made my team. Sorry, Kev.
No, he hasn't made your team. And do you know what? For the life of me, I don't know how Antonio, he scored so many goals and done so many celebrations, why he hasn't done the chicken dance. I just don't know. It's just so obvious. It's almost too obvious, just going up to Kevin and doing the chicken dance, but anyway. I know he was like a proper old school captain, wasn't he? He wasn't just captain of the team, but of the club. And as you said, the way
100%.
He commanded was amazing. So obviously, you were in the youth team set up at West Ham, in terms of the coaching side for 6 years. I mean, that must have been we're sort of going backwards incremental. We'll talk about you being a fan in a minute, but being a coach of the team that you support, that must have been like your dream job now, in terms of what you wanted to achieve in the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was working at Charlton at the time, and I was actually on my A licence. I was away with the FA, and I got a phone call from a friend of mine who worked within the recruitment department, and he said, "We've been trying to get hold of you. We need to talk to you." And I was like, "Well, what's going on?" And he said, "Basically, there's a role come up at West Ham. Would you be interested?" And weirdly, it was quite surreal, because you're thinking, really? No, my dream's always been to work at the club. And it was 9 minutes from my house, the training ground. So whereas Charlton's an hour and 25 minutes. And was thinking this is just weird. I'm on my license, which I was still part of the Charlton staff, and yeah, so I literally drove home on the day I finished, went straight to Little Heath, then met with Paul Heffer and Nick Aycock and had a little chat, and yeah, I suppose the rest was history. It was great. I got offered a role working with the under 10s, and and it was actually probably from my development in the sense of working with certain age groups. It was probably a little bit of a backward step at the time, but
sure.
you don't turn down an opportunity to work under Tony Carr, and so it was a no-brainer from my perspective.
Yeah, exactly. In 6 years, it's like, it's just, you said, I mean, we've had Tony on the channel, and just an incredible man, absolutely incredible man. His 11 was fucking mental because he did his academy 11. It's like fuck, it was like literally the England 2010 World Cup squad. It was absolutely mental. And you must have seen some cracking players go through that time. 6 years. In terms of the kids coming through. Seeing the progression.
Yeah, right. I had a variety of different roles. So I went in. I was part time for the first probably 6 months, and then the Premier League brought in the Triple P, which meant there was a lot of full time roles become available. And Tony was. I was fortunate enough to be offered the full time foundation phase role. I then held the youth development phase lead role. I then was a head of coaching, and it was great. And I mean, it's brilliant for me at the minute because you're Jeremy Ngakya's, your Declan Rice, Connor Coventry's, Ben Johnson's, Harrison Ashby's, all these players that have kind of broke on the scene. You're just fortunate to have been in and around it, and even the boys that have left West Ham that have gone on, your Jamal Hector Ingrams, etc. It's just. And by the way, that's not me taking credit for any of those players because I'm not. I think coaches play a very small part in a player's development. I think it's down to the individuals, but to have been a small part of their journey, however small or big that was, I think is been brilliant. And to see them all start coming through and making first team appearances, and Adji Elise who made his debut the other night.
That's good.
Yeah, and I just think that it's amazing to see that, but also when you're working in that environment, looking at your Collisons, your Tompkins, your Nobles, the players that have also come through before that, and that's one thing that makes West Ham quite unique in a way. Is there's always been that kind of heritage of players in and around the building constantly that have been through the process. And I know there's some great clubs out there that have done it as well. I think Manchester United's record of academy boys in first team squads is unbelievable, but there's not many. And I think one thing that's good about West Ham not spending 200-300 million every transfer window is there's always a chance. And I think we have to remember that sometimes and be careful what we wish for when we're talking about investment, because you do want to see your homegrown ones on the pitch. Yeah,
you're right. It's like it is like a sort of a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's like people want to, we want to spend all this money, but then I'm not being funny. If we had, I mean, the boy Ashby, man, I think he's going to be spent. I just think, when playing, I mean, you're playing coach and manager and stuff, but he came on the pitch and he looked like a footballer. He just looked like a good footballer. Already just the way he held himself, and obviously he's doing bits in the Scotland under-21s this week. Scored the other day.
Against San Marino, saw that.
7-0, whatever it is. I just think he's, I like the boy Ashby. I think he was good, and the fact is, you have things like the Carabao Cups. They can play these. Obviously, we haven't got it anymore, but it was great to see them because it just gave you a sense of actually the future is very rosy for West Ham in terms of what's coming through. And as you said, even so Ben Johnson's, he's getting more game time, and obviously Deck and stuff like that. Deck's obviously the golden child in terms of stuff going through at the moment. But no, I just think it's really, really exciting in terms of what's coming through the kids, because obviously they won the PL2. Although the PL2 second, whether it was, they won, they got promoted. PL2 too, the PL4 2 times. And so I mean it's brilliant. And so as you said, it's about that balancing act, isn't it? I mean, Moyes has already come out and he wants a small squad to lead these guys in if he has to, and I think it's important that he does.
The balance is key, and I think the recruitment is got to be massive. You want players that are going to complement and improve the ones that you've got and the ones that are coming through. And I think if West Ham can want for a better word, maybe tidy up their recruitment a little bit with regards to some of the players that are coming in that fit our criteria. And because they've signed some very good players. I know Philip Anderson maybe not have worked out the way it probably we wanted it to, but he's going to go on to Porto and he's going to be playing in the Champions League. And he's not a bad player.
No.
Was he a West Ham type player? I think maybe not, because when you talk about, when I think of West Ham players, I think of work rate. I think of that kind of, what is it? You play for the badge on the front of the shirt, and then they'll remember the name on the back. That kind of mentality. And I think that there's certain players we've brought in the past 4 or 5 years that have been more about what's on the back of the shirt than what's on the front of it. So, but look, it's a subjective thing, and that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and I just think also it's a bit more. We've obviously done almost 200 of these interviews, and we're interviewing people who are being fans and players from different generations. And I think this new generation, so to speak, I'm not saying like an old bugger or anything, but you don't get the Mark Nobles anymore. Yeah, I mean, he's the exception to the rule. If you get a player for 2-3 years, you've done well out of them in terms of loyalty. And I just think if someone like an Anderson could have worked, but and it's just like it's a shame. But then you look at someone like Bowen, who for half the price is arguably doing twice the work. And as you said, it's all about recruitment. Souček, for example, again, very similar to Searle. Who's this bloke turning up who from Sparta Prague? But they just do bits.
Good recruitment, though.
Yeah,
you're
right.
Recruitment.
Yeah, you're totally right.
And I think Bowen's. I mean, I really like him. I really like him because I think when you're working with young players and when you're working with senior players, it's really important they understand what their qualities are and what their strengths are and why they're there. And sometimes you have players that they're there because you've brought them because of this, but actually they think they're really good at this. So they spend so much time trying to be this person, they actually forget about why they were brought to the club in the first place. Whereas he knows what his strengths are, and he plays to them really well, and he's a handful. And Souček's great. I think he'd head a tank if it was thrown into the box. He just throws his head into it, and we need that. I mean, you'd almost argue he's almost Moyes' Fellaini when he had him at Everton. When you're looking at that person who goes and puts his head in places.
Good shout.
But no, it's a quite exciting times. I think that team's capable of doing some really good stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's everything seems to be, stars seem to be aligning, and it doesn't happen very often. So we should enjoy it when it does.
Definitely.
I mean, being a West Ham, Dan, you've been a West Ham fan for years. You're waiting for the drop. You're waiting. You've beaten. We beat Wolves. We've beaten Leicester. We might. Everyone's really up for Tottenham, but we're waiting for Burnley. We're going to get turned over, but that's being a West Ham fan. You just know it's going to happen. We don't enjoy it when we are turning teams over. It's always like, but there's always a but happening. But we're one injury away from having a bad squad. Well, we haven't had that injury yet, so don't worry about it yet. When it happens, it happens. But Anyway, first question. He says 23 minutes in. It's not too bad for me. We'll start right at the beginning, Daddy. Why are you a West Ham fan? What's your story?
So I come from a very big family. I've got 24 cousins, and that's my mum's side. That's just my mum's side. Forget my dad's side. My dad's side's not football. He's Formula One. But my mum's side, and we're split right down the middle. Half Tottenham, half West Ham. All season ticket holders, always have been. So when you're born into my family, you get dragged from pillar to post. So I probably, in my first sort of 2 years of going to games, I probably went to White Hart Lane just as many times as I went to Upton Park.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to a West Ham game, and back in the day when you used to take a milk crate, so I could stand on it so I could see. And this one particular game, we actually got beat 3-0 by Luton in what was, I think, the Littlewoods Cup. This particular game.
I mean, that's why we started hating Luton, wasn't it?
It was. We were awful. But I loved it. I got thrown all over the place, and the noise, and I was on the South Bank, and everyone's screaming and shouting, and there's arguments because we had those two little fences in the South Bank between the home fans and the away fans, and it's kicking off all over the place. And I know it's probably not what I should be talking about, but and I loved it. And I went home, and I was actually staying at my uncle's house that night, who's a Tottenham season ticket holder. And he said, "You need to make a decision. You're either in or you're out." And I was like, I was this little kid, and I was like, "I'm out." And I had a little Tottenham key ring they gave me, because it's literally like blackmail and bribery. So I gave it back to them, and I was like, "No, I'm going to be West Ham." And yeah, so it was from that moment onwards. And I think that it was a weird thing for me, because my mum and dad were really strict when I was growing up, and I wasn't allowed out. Like, my friends would go to the park and be allowed out till certain times, and I was never allowed to do it. My friends would go to like these discos and youth clubs, and I was never allowed to do it. But my mum never batted an eyelid at me doing Ellen Road away on a Tuesday night when I was like 10 and getting home at 2 a.m. And I just, I travelled everywhere with West Ham. And I think that the beauty of the club for me was the fact that they would be so bad at times that you almost lost complete faith, not only in the club, but in football itself. And then they always give you this little drop of hope, and they'll go and beat someone, and you think, "Oh my God, I support the best club in the world."
Yeah.
And then it all comes back, falling back down again, and then you go again, and you go again. And it's a bit like my golf at the minute. I'm awful at golf, but every now and again I hit a shot, and I think that's enough to make me come back next week. And I think that West Ham's beautiful at that. And I think it's a quality that, even for all the stuff that's going on at the moment with the board and with the stadium complaints and whatnot, you know that the two results we've just had in the league, you could probably sell that stadium out twice over, because people will want to go and watch the next game, and they might leave 20 minutes before the end and be throwing burgers and programs at people and whatnot, but they'll probably be back next week as well. And I think that's a real quality that West Ham have, is real loyalty from their supporters.
No, it really is. It's the amount of times I've unseries linked match of the day on a Saturday when I've got back. and the wife just doesn't need to know. That's the first thing I do. Just, oh, okay, they lost. Yep. And then, as you said, Saturday, oh well, have a curry, and you run. Monday morning, right? Who we got on Saturday? It's just
exactly.
Again, isn't it? And you're right.
There's always another game.
It's so true. And as you said, like with West Ham, they're just so. Yeah, you said there's 3 or 4 times a season they turn up, but you don't know when they're going to be. So you have to watch every game, knowing full well, like we've never beaten Norwich at Carrow Road. In my lifetime, we turned over 4-0 last year.
It's just mental.
Same as Wolves. I mean, I've been funny. Wolves tore us a new one the beginning of the restart, and then we turned them over. It's just West Ham. That's why I love it as well. And as you said,
I think I love it. I mean, we used to. Ironically, my auntie and uncle live just off of Barking Road, right near Upton Park. But they're all Tottenham, and she's got a lot of children. She's got 9, and they're all Tottenham. So every home game, we used to, all the West Ham side of our family would meet there first, and I'm not joking. It used to kick off because my cousins that were going to Tottenham, because we used to get there early. My cousins that were going to Tottenham would be there, and we'd have a little bit of light-hearted banter, and then before you know it, we're little 8-9-year-old kids rolling around on the floor because, we're West Ham and you're Tottenham, and that's the way it is. But we actually had one. We actually had Tottenham. I don't even remember. We beat Tottenham at White Hart Lane. We won 4-1. I think Jones, Mike Marsh.
Sounds familiar.
It's the year we had David Burrows and all that. At their place. I think Trevor Morley scored a couple. So, anyway, we won 4-1. We've come out of the stadium, and I actually went to the game with my other cousin, who's West Ham, with my Tottenham side of the family, and my cousin's come running out, and obviously we've given him a little bit, and we've started rolling around on the floor, and the police came over, and they're like, "You're gonna have to stop that." And it's like, my uncle's like, "No, it's all right, they're cousins, they can crack on." He said, No, it's not that. He's pointed over there, and there's a group of West Ham fans, and he's pointed that way and said, "There's a group of Tottenham fans." He said, "And if he sees you guys rolling around on the floor, all hell's gonna break." But it was all fun and games, and we actually, some of my best memories are West Ham. And I remember when we drew 2-2 with Man United to stop them from winning the league. I just got a new coat for my birthday, and I was that season I was on the chicken run, and we scored the second goal. I think it was like, did Chapman get the first, and then and whoever it was. Anyway, we drew to all, and I think I spent about 4 minutes on the floor being jumped on. I was just on the floor, and I stood up, and my coat was ripped to shreds and whatnot. And I didn't think about it. Got home, my mum was like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Mum, we just stopped Man United from winning the league. Forget the coat. Don't worry about it. You get more of those. You can't do that again." But yeah, no, it's no. I've had some great times as a West Ham fan. So long may that continue.
Yeah, indeed. And I suppose it's going to be like civil war for your families on the weekend, isn't it? With West Ham Tottenham.
Oh, brilliant! We've fallen out so many times. I mean, talking blocked on social media, blocked on Facebook, not talking to each other, haven't spoken to each other till the next family event, and even then it was uncomfortable because the abuse it goes across. I mean, it's weird because my uncle, who I kind of spent a lot of time with growing up, we lost him quite young to cancer. And he was mad Tottenham. So I probably shouldn't say what I'm about to say, but I've actually got a little bit of a soft spot for him because obviously I loved him to bits, and I know how passionate he was about the club. I mean, don't get me wrong, when West Ham play Tottenham, I want us to absolutely destroy them. But yeah, when it comes to other stuff, we're a close family, so
of course
we hate them, but no, I think on Saturday I'll take 5-0 and a couple of red cards for Spurs. Yeah, maybe a little scuffle here and there, we'll take that.
We'll take that. I mean, the fact that Eric Dyer is not playing for England tonight, I'm hoping they're resting him to playing in centre defence for Spurs on Saturday.
Yeah, so do I. Antonio. I'm not going to give you my opinion on him.
No, I don't. Yeah, everyone has the same opinion, I think, Danny, to be honest, about Eric Dyer. But no, the thing about Eric Dyer I always forget is he's Portuguese. That just freaks me out. Because he was like that sort of Tottenham thing, just like dropping into Portuguese, talking to Mourinho, and it's like, what? Yeah. And he's like, Sporting Lisbon. It's like, what? Where did this happen? It's just like it's like new life. But no, I hope could you imagine? Oh God, Antonio must be licking his lips thinking about Eric Dyer.
I think any of the players they play at the back four. I think that with the kind of type of football Tottenham play, I think Antonio. I don't think there's a centre back in the country, if Antonio's on it, can live with him because he's just so powerful. And I mean, you look at Troy at Wolves and those type of players that like, if they get you squared up and they get you one-on-one or they get in behind you, there isn't anything you can do about it. You just got to hope that their touch isn't good enough or they make some mistakes. But Antonio, do you know what I love about Antonio? Is he just smiles all the time. He's always smiling, and he's a boy that's living the dream. He's come through non-league football. He's playing in the Premier League. He's scoring goals for fun, and you can see he's massively appreciative of where he's at, and he's just enjoying it. And I think that if more players took that advice, that actually you'd probably see a lot more. Yeah,
no, definitely. And I just think I mean, the only person I've seen who's manhandled him was Traore. Was that Traore when he pushed him over?
Yeah.
And I was like, Christ, he's the only person I know in the Premier League could do that. As you said, like he's just unplayable at the moment. He just really is, and it's. Although I'm always really, he's like, for someone so powerful, he's so fragile as well, isn't he? Because he's got injuries and stuff. So it's always,
I think that comes with his game though, because he's built like an athlete, and when you're twisting and turning and changing directions and getting hit and hitting people as much as he does, I think you're always going to put yourself that robustness that you kind of get sometimes. And once you've got a weakness, unfortunately, it's not always easy to make it strong again. So, but no, touch wood, he'll be there against the Spurs and do some damage.
Yeah, and the way he's going, he could easily be our top Premier League striker before he hangs up his boots at West Ham. I think he's like fourth at the moment. It was like he's only like 15 off Paolo or Martin Noble. So it's mental, absolutely mental how long he's been here as well. As you said, it's nice because he's always had a very much a stop-start career. It seems he has like 4 or 5 really good games, and he's always injured. And at the moment, as again, touch wood, he's having a prolonged, and arguably. In front of isn't it? I think he scored the most goals since restart. Then he's like top.
Top goal scorer. Yeah,
and it's like surely England should be calling, but he plays for West Ham, Danny. So he has to do twice as much as everyone else to get.
Yeah, the England thing's an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah. With when it comes to I mean, Declan was different because I think they had no choice, did they? It was either do that or he's going to be playing for the Republic of Ireland. They've always, I mean, look, people have got their opinions on whether Noble is one of the best centre midfielders in the country or not. But I think some of the performances and form that he's been in over the last 5 to 8 years, a call up and an opportunity to play for his country. When I see some of the people that have played for their country, I'm not sure what's gone on there. But at the end of the day, there's nothing we can do about it. And I suppose their loss has been massively our gain.
Yeah, no, exactly. And as you said, it means when it comes to internationals, we're not crapping ourselves until they all come back. It's like Deck. I looked at the team today. I was like, oh God, he's playing. Oh God. But I think he's all right. He's not injured.
So far so good.
Yeah, so far so good, which is fortunate. Right, let's go into this 11. So as I said, the whole point of the channel is we get everyone on. I think bar 3 people. I think we've had Harry Redknapp. He didn't give an 11. Nigel Reo-Coker didn't give 11, and neither did Bish. Fair enough. Everyone else has given 11 of the players. Now, obviously, the criteria is whatever you want. It doesn't have to. You can pick whoever you want. It doesn't have to be the best players. It could be your favourite, close to your heart 11, whatever. But the only rule is you must have been alive to see them play. So, for example, for me, because if someone says, what's your dream? What was your ultimate West Ham 11? Of course, it'd be Bobby Moore and Trevor Brooking and Martin Peters. But I wasn't around to see any of them play. So, yeah. I haven't got that reference point, so I'm just putting it because I know of the legend rather than people I've seen. I was fortunate enough to see Roger Johnson and Jonathan Spector, and these sort of strong.
Yeah, but Spector, Man United hat trick. You can't ever take that away from him.
I was talking today, Jonathan Spector. One game we turned up in midfield.
One game in 500 million games he turned up. He got a hat trick, but fair enough. He probably made a few quid out of it as well.
Oh God, yeah, he must have got some money on the old highlights or DVDs afterwards. But yeah, no, he's and that's why I like doing the channel, because it gives people like Jonathan Spector, or Laurent Courtois, or whoever, Semassi Abou, a chance to be out amongst
Semassi Abou. Wow.
I used to serve Semassi Abou in when I used to live in Loughton. I'm a Hornchurch boy now, but when I lived in Loughton, I worked at Safeways, and that was at a time when people would actually go out shopping if they're footballers. They didn't have to Deliveroo or Uber Eats or whatever.
How dare they?
How dare they? So I remember Semassi would regularly be in Safeways or Shaka. You'd see Shaka quite a lot, and you'd see Shaka because his head was so tall. He was like above sort of the aisles. It's brilliant. Once saw Paul Kitson in Woolworths with a big bag of Pick a Mix. These sort of
okay. As you do.
As you do. But you did then. You did see the footballers walking around. And again, there was nothing more exciting than seeing Steve Lomas walking out of KFC. That type of thing. Seeing these players are about, and then they're always particularly Premier League players, they're just so at this other level in terms of they're all in Canary Wharf in their apartments. I mean, you see them on Instagram doing their gym work and stuff, and it's it's not really the same.
Without defending them too much, I think the problem is with society now is everybody's quick to post stuff and
totally
try and catch you at your weakest moment. And these players are they're brands, and a lot of them have got commercial deals and whatnot.
Yeah.
As I said, I think we massively lack that personal touch still, and I think there's a way we can maybe get around it. But there's so many vindictive people out there that just want to make a quick quid, whether it's selling it to the newspaper or posting it themselves and getting a load of followers from it. And I mean, I saw something the other day, and I won't mention the person's name, but a lad that I know quite well got quite publicly lambasted for something he did after an event that he was involved in. And actually, when you listen to the story, it was nothing like that at all. But because of the way the picture was taken and the way the story was written, he's now potentially lost a commercial deal and whatnot. And he actually hasn't done anything wrong. So I don't like the fact that they're not close and but to a certain degree, I do understand. It is difficult. Sorry to sound like a voice of reason then, but obviously it won't be like that anymore.
I totally appreciate, because obviously you're from inside the game as well, so you can see that. And do you know what? You're totally right. It's not really a criticism, but it's more for me. it's a shame. Do you know what I mean? It's a
Yeah, no,
shame.
it is. No, I agree with you, mate. I
Particularly,
agree with
with
you. And
modern football as well, with modern stadiums, they're all, I mean, Upton Park, you could put your hand to the railings and get, I don't know, Lucas Neal to sign. I'm picking out some randoms today, but Lucas Neal to sign your shirt or whatever. But obviously now with all the way game, the all coming coaches and just the nature of football itself, you don't get that personal touch anymore. Now the I mean, we can't do anything. We can't literally touch anyone personally at the moment anyway. But it is like now it's moved it on. So now the autograph it's not really autograph now. It's you're being followed on Twitter by Declan or something, or Declan likes you, one of your tweets. That's the modern day equivalent now of it, unfortunately. And again, it's sort of that lack of personal touch, but it's not their fault at all. But it's a shame, as I said, the personalities of the game. And again, Christ, we've had. I mean, we've had, God, we've had them all. We had Razor on the other day. We've had Monks, Bish, and some of the stories they tell, they couldn't get away with that now.
No way.
Razor got banned. Razor got banned from Romford Town Centre, 2 mile radius, so he couldn't train at Chadwell Heath because of an incident at a Christmas party. So little things
Funny
like that.
story about Razor. I actually coached. He probably won't even remember this, but when I very, very, very first started coaching, I was only about 18, and I did a soccer school in Shenfield, and Razor's boy came to our soccer school. He's definitely got some interesting stories. Probably not a lot that you'd want to put out, to be fair, but top guy, by the way.
Nice bloke. Yeah, and he's got a new book out. But it's all these stories, and it's not just him, as I said before. Even people like Trevor Sinclair, and people like that. Some of the stories they told, it's like you couldn't get away with that in today's sort of society because the drinking culture that was around that time, and social media was just starting as well, particularly around sort of the early 2000s. It was non-existent really, and so you're right. It's these footballers they were sort of a law unto themselves, and that's why the stories come out, because they can tell them, because they haven't been posted on Twitter or
they weren't caught.
No, they weren't caught. Exactly. Bish tells a great story about Steve Potsy's testimonial one night, and he got Potsy so pissed he couldn't walk out the front doors, and his wife was shouting at him. And anyway,
Potsy is hilarious when he's pissed. By the way, I won't tell any of his stories when we had some staff nights out, but he's a West Ham legend.
Yeah, we're trying to convince him. I've got a few spies. That's what I do. I get my spies out, and like some of his mates are, they're going to try and convince him. But he's quite shy when it comes to things like this. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? He's so humble.
Yes.
Like you would never know what he's done in the game, because he would never tell you. And I mean, he did some. Obviously, I worked with him for a long time at West Ham. I've known him for a long time. I used to coach Dan when Dan first started kicking a ball. I used to work with Dan, and then I've had Freddie. I had Harry as well, his other boy. Like Steve he's a top guy, and I think he is West Ham through and through. Like I think he would. I mean, the club probably, hopefully, don't hear it, but he'd probably do his job for nothing because he loves the club so much. And I think that's taken advantage of sometimes when you have people like that around. But he's a top guy.
Yeah. No, it's just funny to like really listen to all these stories. I mean, it's like literally you could listen to them all day. These stories, and particularly Monks. I mean, bless him, Monks. And when you interviewed him, he's just like, because obviously he's sort of calmed down a little bit. He's found God. He's into his golf, obviously, and all this stuff. But when he started talking about the stories, this little glint just started appearing. It's like the same as Anwar. I interviewed him.
Yeah.
It was all prim and proper, SFA, By the end, he was like, he's got all cockney. He's gone back to his. I transitioned him back into his West Ham state, bless him. But no, it's good fun. Right. Anyway, let's go into this 11 because I don't want to keep you for too long, Danny, because you're busy, man. You probably want to get some sleep. Going back from Dover yesterday.
No, we could talk all night about West Ham, mate. I'm all yours.
Oh, very good. Right, let's start off in goal, because then we can start talking about what formation you want to play. Let's start in goal. Who would be in goal for the Danny 11?
So I've been fortunate enough to see quite a few keepers over the years, but this one for me is I'm still in contact with him now, and he's probably been one of the nicest guys I know. So it's got to be Ludo. It has to be Ludo. I think that from my perspective, I remember when Man United were rumoured to sign him just before they signed Schmeichel. They wanted Ludo McCloskey because he had this unusual kicking style and he pulled off these saves and genuinely he's if I mean I'd be shocked. I could probably message him now and he comes straight back to you. He's obviously doing his stuff out in the Czech Republic and with the goalkeepers and the agency he's working with now, and I've got so much time for him. And I was fortunate enough when I actually had my spell at West Ham as a player to be coached by him, and legend, absolute legend. So Ludek McCloskey all day for me.
Yeah, and you're right. He did that really unusual sort of side-on kicking,
that reaching around and he'd kick the ball the length of the pitch But I see
why Man United want to buy him, because he always used to turn up for the Man United games. At least they would be guaranteed that
he did.
SV, just like, and the thing about Ludo is he epitomised West Ham, because like he would have those absolute worldies. Yes, it's 3 or 4 times a season. He was, upper echelons.
Yeah.
And but no, he was great one. He was just so much fun and obviously he had the song and everything as well, and everything went in with Ludo. God bless him. Right. Are we going to play as a manager, Daddy? I thought, what type of formation you're going to be playing?
Well, I've played with this for a few days, to be fair, because there's certain players I wanted to get in it. There is some lads I've had to leave out, so I'll have to have that awkward conversation with them the day before the game, to be fair. But I've gone with a 4-2-3-1, just Very so good. I can squeeze some players in.
All right, let's go at the back. Let's go left back then, Danny. We go left back.
We talked earlier about epitomising passion and aggression and West Ham type player. I don't think you can get any better than Julian Dix, to be fair. Dixie, just like I've never seen a player almost physically assault as many people as he did on the pitch and get away with it.
Yeah.
And I think there was one with Chelsea. I can't remember. I think it might have been Spencer. He went down. It was Upton Park, and he went down in the corner, and Julian literally walked over his head, and then jogged away like nothing's happened. And like, obviously the West Ham fans are going crazy because it's Chelsea, and great, and kill him and whatnot. Obviously, you don't wish anyone any harm, but I think that we've had some great left backs, but I think when you look at sort of that Terminator and look at you, and he wants to wear the badge, and he was never the same player when he went to Liverpool, and because I don't think it mattered to him as much. Only he would ever be able to answer that question, but I look at the way he was as a West Ham player, so Julian Dix,
and he's just like, I mean, yourself, obviously he from left back, it's not the most. It's not the most sort of, he would coordinate the crowd and the team from left back. And he's like, not like centre mid, like where Deck or he could, put it, and he would do as you said, like a Dix challenge or a 30-yard ping or his penalties. And he would galvanise the crowd from left back. It's just like, it's mental when you think about it. But he was brilliant, wasn't he? And obviously when he came back from Liverpool, he only really had one foot, bless him. But it was still fucking awesome foot. I mean, it's like
it is still run for a wall for you.
Oh God, yeah. And he would go and have.
Do you remember when Boogers did? Was it Gary Neville at Old Trafford? Was it Gary Neville? And then they all come steaming over, and he just went and stood there as if to say, like, "No, that's not happening, lads. Like, I don't care if he's done him. He's just not getting in here." And brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, we interviewed Mad Dog, and he said, I asked him what his favourite game was for West Ham, and he said it was against Wimbledon, and there was like a 20 man, like a 22-man, pile up, and then eventually
was that a Selhurst Park one?
No, that was the one. It was Upton Park. It was every game of Wimbledon, to be honest. They liked it.
It was,
And then so everything just calmed down, and then the first time, then it kicked off. Ball got past Dennis Wise. Julian Dix basically kicked him about 6 feet up in the air and just walked off. knowing who's going to get sent off. He's like, yeah, that's me. See you later, guys. I'm
I
off.
remember that. Yeah, brilliant. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy either, by the way.
No, why is it? You're right. Go on, let's go right back. Who's going to be on the other side then?
Right, this one's probably a little bit left field because of the right backs we've had, but I've actually gone with Thomas Repka.
Yes.
So again, similar. I remember. I remember being at Upton Park and I was on the chicken run and I watched him make a tackle, then stand there and stare at the player who's on the floor, and I felt scared standing in the stand, because the look that he gave this lad, I was thinking, don't get up, get up, because if you get up, I think he's actually going to kill you. And again, there's a certain type of player that comes into West Ham that seems to just instantly be a West Ham person, and he epitomised that for me. So yeah, listen, we've had some outstanding Ben Johnsons and whatnot, but Tim Breaker, you mentioned Lucas Neal and players like that, but for me, Repka, I loved the way he was, and you knew that however bad a game he was having, that you still had a certain level you was going to get from him because of his aggression and the way he played the game. So yeah, no,
definitely.
Reps was definitely in there for me.
And the thing is about Thomas is he's become more of a West Ham player since he's stopped playing football, because obviously he's in prison at the moment. I think his career, has somewhat, bless him. I think he blackmailed his girlfriend. I know he did that. He was selling hire cars as well. He was renting hire cars and selling them.
That's what I said. He's a typical West Ham person.
He's even more so. Bless him. And we love a nutter, and he was just like, I think got sent off.
He was a nutter.
Twice in his first 4 games on that, something ridiculous.
Yeah, but he was one of those people that was either going to be that, wasn't he? He was either going to be a footballer or a criminal, and I think he's been successful because he's managed both. So
he's got the brace. Right.
Watching this. Remember, so
yeah, exactly. He's a good man. Right. Okay. Let's go into centre back. He's going to be your first centre half, then, Danny.
Right. So obviously I've spoken about him already, but Potsy. I think that forget obviously my personal bias, because I think he's a top guy. I don't think anybody in that particular season, any other centre back in the country, managed to mark Michael Owen out of a game twice like he did, and he was the hottest property in Europe, probably at the team, arguably maybe the world. I mean, with what some of the things he was doing, and Potsy just put him in his pocket, and who can forget his unbelievable screamer against Hull City that bounced 37 times and rolled through the keeper's legs. And I think that anyone who scores a goal like that, I know it was 7-1 or whatever it was at the final result, but yeah, no, like Potsy, West Ham through and through, and I think that again, you're looking at that sort of personalities you want in your team. He was definitely one of those.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. He's like, for 5'7", he shouldn't have been a decent centre back, but he just read the game so well. He was really quick off the mark. That sort of first 3 or 4 yards. He just read the game really well, and I think, he's again, if he was half a foot taller, he'd probably be in the England team. You know what I mean? Or the American team, of course. He could have been.
Yeah, exactly.
Play for them.
But I think what he lacked in height, his calves were probably 5'7" wide as well. So he was also really hard to get around. He's got the biggest calves I've ever seen. Probably bigger than Lewis Quintilla, who plays for me. Lewis Quintilla's got ridiculous calves, and I think Potsy's unfortunately got better ones.
Oh, sorry, Lewis. Yeah. Right. Okay. Who's Potsy going to partner in the centre backs, and Danny?
Well, this was a tough one because, and I'm going to actually tell you what I first wrote down. I first wrote down Alvin Martin because of the way, but I think it's got to be Rio. I think I was fortunate enough when I had my trial period at West Ham. Rio was in and around that, and top lad. He's a family friend, and I think that just absolute quality. And I know that his pinnacle of his career wasn't at the club, and obviously, but I genuinely think that he got his grounding and foundations at West Ham, and watching him play and take the risks he used to take across the back, it was a pleasure to watch.
It was class, wasn't he? When he came,
absolute Rolls Royce. Yeah,
it's Harry's. Yeah, and obviously, with Anton as well. We've had Anton on here as well, and Yeah, he's just brilliant.
Sorry, Anton, I didn't put you in, mate. Sorry.
So
You were in there. You're on the list.
you're on the
But
bench.
no. Yeah, listen, it's a good team to be involved with. It's good. So
yeah, it's a squad. It's a squad. You know, it's not just 11 players on the pitch. It's the squad.
Well, listen, this team's going into Europe, so we're going to need as many players around as we possibly can because the rotation will come into place. So
that's a good point. You've got to think there's the qualifiers. You know, it's like
exactly.
We're playing like God, Astra
League Cup runs, FA Cup runs. You've got to make sure
you've
got.
You've
It
got to
could
have
be
a full
60
team.
games a season.
You need the full team, so we need that squad rotation. Right, put Rio in. So that's your back four. Right, who are you going to be? Who's your first or your two in the sort of defensive positions, defensive midfield positions?
So, like Tony a little bit, I was going to go really cheeky and just go with an academy 11 of lads that I've kind of been fortunate enough to have been in and around and whatnot, but I didn't. But what I have gone with definitely one here, and I was fortunate enough to play a little bit of a part, hopefully in his journey, and I've worked with him for a few years, and that's Declan Rice.
Yeah.
I think again, you look at characteristics and whatnot, and I think with Dec, he hasn't had an easy ride. Some people have a lovely smooth journey through their sort of academy life, and he's had to pick himself up a couple of times, but you never really had any doubt about what he was going to achieve because he's so driven and so focused and so professional in what he does, and I think he's a class act. So he is playing of one of my two midfielders sitting behind that sort of attacking lineup.
Yeah, you're right. And he's just I mean, obviously, we do some under 23 games at the stadium, so I've watched quite a few of them. And even when he was playing for 23s, he was playing centre back. And you mentioned about there's a lack of leadership and stuff in the more professional, so the younger kids who are breaking through in the England squad and stuff. But Dec was just stood out like a sore thumb. I mean, just he embodies lead. It's incredible to have that sort of sense of leadership for someone. I mean, he's played over 100 games for us. You know what I mean? In a relatively short, there's a lot of people who people put in, the upper echelons of legendary status who have played less games than Declan Rice already. It's just like brilliant. I just think he's fantastic, and as long may it continue. He's still in Wales. So
he actually went on tour. One of his first things he did, we went away with the first team. Slav was the manager, and he went to, I think it was America, and he played some games out in America. And I think it was James Collins. I think James Collins was still there at the time. I might be wrong, but it was one of the centre halves anyway. And he was in the game, and he starts bossing them around. I think he was 17 at the time. I might have been 18, but he starts bossing him around like, you should be standing here and you should be standing here. And the next day he was on a bike recovery, and Slav was in there, and he's like, it's interesting. And he's like, oh yeah, what's up, Gaffer? And he said like, you've certainly put your foot in there, haven't you? With the lads, organise them and stuff. And I think that's just Dec's character. He's a winner, an out and out winner. And I think that West Ham have really fallen on their feet with having someone like that, because you're looking at Nobes and the fact that he's potentially coming to the sort of the twilight end of his career, and you're looking for a captain. I mean, wow. He's there. He's ready made. He's
totally right, and no one's batted an eyelid at the fact that it's like, oh, it's like it's not like, oh, Noble's going, who's going to be captain? It's like, oh yeah, well, Dec will be captain. No, the fact that he's 21 and but no one gives a shit about that, because he just has that level of maturity. He's got a hold on his shoulders. When he's as you said, he did it with Ginger when he was 17. Now when he's skipper, and he's got Fabianski at 36 and and they don't.
I think that's the point though.
Yeah.
Right. The point is the fact that none of the players would bat an eyelid either, and that just shows you the level of respect that he's got in the dressing room. Because the bottom line is, you when you're in a changing room, you want to be around winners, and you want to be around people that are willing to put themselves on the line for you. And Dec is definitely that person. And the fact that they haven't sold him is massive. And I think that's a. I know the board get a lot of criticism, but listen, he's stayed, and I mean, you look at the players that we've got and that have stayed in, and the 2 or 3 we have brought in. I think that the bottom line is that actually, for all the criticism they have had, that should definitely. I'm not saying it's all. I'm talking from a West Ham's perspective, the fans' perspective. I'm not saying that all's forgiven and let's move on. But keeping Deck at the club is definitely some kudos.
Yeah, it's number 1 priority, wasn't it, to keep him at the club? And,
definitely. Give him what he wants. I mean, the bottom line is because you could sell him next transfer window and make 20 times that anyway. So just give him what he wants.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just get him on the contract anyway, because that even even if they do sell him, his contract will be worth more because he's under contract.
100%.
So it's about sort of playing the game a little bit as well. But anyway, we'll put Mr. Rice in. Who's Mr. Rice going to partner in that sort of?
It's got to be Nobes.
Yeah,
it's got to be Nobes. I love Martin Allen. I like Peter Butler. People like that have been in there. George Paris. You go back through and you think of all the centre midfielders that we've had and some great, like the late Mark Vivian Foe. I thought when he first burst on the scene, I was like, wow, this is the closest I've seen to Vieira. This is this.
Well, he was like the first one, wasn't he? He was like the first.
He's a real monster. But I think you can't. Same with not having Potts in your team. You can't not have Nobes in it. I mean, he that old adage that if you cut him, West Ham would be all the way through him like a stick of rock. I think he is, and even the comments he made about Grady, it's not because he's trying to be controversial. It's not because he's trying to be popular. It's because that's how much he loves the club and he wants to see good players at the club. And so they're my 2 holding midfielders.
Nice. Right, let's go into the Flair side then. Let's go to that 3 you're going to be playing. Who's your first one of that 3?
So Yossi Benayoun.
Oh, good old Yossi.
So I was at at Cardiff when we played Liverpool in the FA Cup, and for me, he was the best player on the pitch. He absolutely run the show, and I don't think he gets enough credit for it because he just didn't do that against Liverpool. He'd done that in so many games, and there was lots of. Do you remember the old Berkovic's and the players like that? And it's like, they're great at home, but not away. You don't really want to. But Yossi was a tremendous football player, and that day out, despite the defeat, was one of the best days I've had as a West Ham fan. Probably only second to the playoff final win against Blackpool at Wembley. But that for me, and he was an absolute Rolls Royce that day, and so he's in my attacking 3 midfielders.
Yes, very good. No, I mean Yoshi's just like he's. And he was the first player to score hat-tricks in the Champions League, the Premier League, I think the FA Cup and League Cup. There we go. A little bit of trivia if it comes up for quiz night. There we go.
I'm definitely writing that one down.
Yeah. But I think there's been 4 since, but he was the first one. Yeah, he was awesome. And we had people like Matty Etherington and stuff like that on, and Yoshi's come up. And something which I didn't think about, he loved to tackle in training.
Yeah,
he liked to put it about a bit,
and he liked to take one on the chin from Hartson. He liked a little kick in the face.
That was Berkovic.
Oh, sorry, it's Berkovic, was it? Yes, Berkovic. Yeah.
Both begin with B's, but
you're right. He liked to tomato.
But no, Yossi was a class. You're right. He doesn't get enough credit for what he did at West Ham and Liverpool and stuff as well. He was exactly. Well. So, all right, I'll put Yossi in. Who's the next one of those 3 then?
Paolo Di Canio. He's gone in there. He's gone in there as a sort of a 10 false 9. Basically, what I'm going to say to Paolo is, you can do what you want, mate. So you can go where you want, do what you want. You can just wait for 89 minutes and just score a volley from 30 yards. It's fine. It's not a problem. Yeah. But no, absolutely. I remember when he first came to the club, and his first probably 5 or 6 games, he looked like he gave the ball away quite a few times and that. And I think when you start to look at it, you think, no, we're just nowhere near on the same wavelength as him. He was playing passes that nobody else could read, and because no one else saw them, and just an absolute class act. I'm actually glad he didn't become our manager, And the reason is because he's a legend at our club, and I think if he'd have gone in as manager, I think he could have tarnished himself because he's an absolute lunatic. But yeah, no, what a player, and some of the goals he scored for our club, and I think that anyone who can make Nigel Winterburn do what he did, even though he wasn't playing for West Ham at the time, he deserves a medal, because that was one of the funniest moments I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, he was just box office, wasn't he? I mean, some players are just
100%.
Some players are just like technically brilliant, but he had the entertainment value. And yeah, when all said and done, football is about, it is a sport, but people want to be entertained, don't they? They want to be entertained by, in the old days, God, it was only like 97, 98, but it was more the soap opera as well. What was Paolo going to do that day? Was he going to have a tantrum? Was he going to have a worldie? Was he going to want to be subbed? And obviously that Bradford City game, which just epitomised Paolo's whole, all his character in like 90 minutes. And no, he was brilliant. Absolutely box office. Loved the man. So I'll put Di Canio in the sort of the force. And you're right, just let him do what he does. You just do what you do.
Do what you want, mate. Just go what you want. In fact, probably most of my front four can just do what you want. We've got enough behind them to deal with it. So you just go and play.
Interchangeable.
It's going to be kids.
Yeah. Exactly. Who's going to be on the other side then? So we've got.
Again, someone that I've been fortunate enough to keep in contact with, and someone I think is an absolute gent of the game. And for me, he epitomises back in the day when you used to play football in the playground, and you used to have that one player that, even though it's a tennis ball and it's 30 aside and it's class 3B versus 3C, and it was on the size of a tennis court, he'd still dribble around everyone and score. And that's Joe Cole.
Yeah.
So, and even now, you speak to him now, he still is like a big kid when it comes to football, because he just loves it. And to have a career like he's had, and I don't think people realise how hard it is, because a lot of these players, especially now, they start at seven years old, and to train 3 or 4 times a week. I mean, we worked it out when I was actually working at West Ham. Our 15s and 16s trained more than our first team, and to be in, as well as basically having another job, which was school. To be in that much every day and to train for that period of time. And I mean, if you think they're in at 7, if they're lucky, that's 13 years before they play regular first team football. And then you're expecting to have a 15-year career. So you're thinking of 28 years of doing the same thing pretty much every day for that period of time, albeit football. And everyone will say, oh, well, you love doing it. But no matter what you're in, if you're doing the same thing every day, there comes a stage where it can drain you a little bit.
Of course, yeah.
Not Joe. Joe, as long as there's balls involved and he gets to play and he gets to put the ball in the net and stick it through someone's legs, or stick a tackle in, because he loved the tackle as well. Do you remember when I think there was a stage when actually Razor Ruddock was teaching him how to tackle because he couldn't tackle?
I remember that.
But no, like Joe, absolute quality player, and I think that it's ironic because I actually interviewed him for something else that I did, and his favourite manager is Mourinho. So a lot of people think that Mourinho ruined him and changed him. You actually speak to him, he enjoyed playing under him the most, because he said every time there was a big game, he picked me. He's played in all the top cup finals. He's played in all the big games, nailed on in my team.
Yeah, definitely. No, good old Joe. Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, because everyone. I mean, that's my. I always say that. Oh, Mourinho ruined him. He put him on the left, and but fair play. You're right. If it's Mourinho knows what he's doing, doesn't he? In terms of he's won everywhere he's been, and he's won a trophy. Apart from
he's got a few medals in the closet.
Yeah, but as long as he doesn't get on for 3-point lane, I don't care. You know what I mean? It's like it's as long as that's the blotch on his managerial career, I'll be more than happy with that.
We for that one day, we hope that you go home very sad, Jose. So apologies for that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay. Who's gonna be the central? Who's gonna be the striker to get these goals, man?
So this was probably the hardest position, because the player I've picked probably didn't play that many games for us, but I loved him, and that one season. And as soon as I mention the teams, you're going to obviously know I'm talking about that one season. And to score the winner at Man United, and then basically send Warnock and his little merry men down, was, despite the fine, because that's pocket change at the end of the day when it all comes down to it. But Carlos Tevez, I did have Dean Ashton because I love Dino, and like, you talk about England duty and getting injured and whatnot, but for me, no, Tevez is in that team, and I don't think that's a bad front four, to be fair.
No, you'd be first to match the day, Danny. That's for sure. Whether we
100%, mate. We might have won 5-4.
Yeah, exactly. Or lost 4, or lost 5-4. But yeah. And I mean,
Carlos, some goals.
You're right. And I mean, Carlos was just like, it doesn't come often that you have someone that good play for your club. And it was, it's funny because we've interviewed, like, obviously people around, like, even like people like John Pansel. We've interviewed, and we've asked him about what was it like when you
didn't get in the squad, unfortunately for him.
Johnny P.
Sorry, mate. It was. I mean, despite probably the 5 minutes of games that you did do well, you didn't make the squad, mate.
Well, he was a good squad. He was lovely. I mean, to be honest, and that's what I like. Everyone you interview, every player, they talk about how special at West Ham is, and someone like John, his face just lit up. Bless him. He spoke for about half an hour. He didn't take a breath, just saying how much he loved West Ham and how the fans loved him. And they used to sing my name. Don't remember that, but and I was like, of course.
That's fine. As long as he's gone away with those memories, then that's good. I don't care. That's good.
Yeah, I don't care. As long as it doesn't matter if they're true or false, they're in his head, and that's it. Fair play to him. Danny, man, God, an hour and 10 minutes. When did that happen? Hour 11 minutes. Bloody hell. Time flies. Listen, man, it's been lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it.
No, listen, Russell, thanks very much, mate. I really enjoyed it. It's nice to reminisce about a few things. And as you said, we could have probably been on for about 4 or 5 hours, because there's so much you can talk about when it comes to West Ham, because they never fail to let you down when it comes to something to talk about.
No, it's very, very true. And as you said, it's like, particularly in your career at the moment, it's nice to have something, rather than thinking about the next game, just a bit of time to just think back. Think about happy times.
Yeah, well, I'm now looking at my formation and thinking to my lads, why can't you do what they do?
Like, you're going to go into
seriously.
Right, I've got this plan, this idea. Yeah,
I've got this plan. I want you to deliver what Cole, Benayoun, Di Canio, and Tevez did for West Ham. If you can deliver that, I'll be happy. It's simple as that. It's not hard.
Too much to ask for. Yeah, exactly.
No. So what if I'm only paying you 0.5% of what they got paid? It doesn't matter. Brilliant.
It's all in proportional. But anyway, man, it's been lovely. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really.
Listen, thanks for having me on, Russ, and listen, keep it up, mate, because the show's brilliant, and we're lucky to have you, mate. So
cheers,
keep
man,
it up.
Thank you very much, and obviously thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you for
watching as well. Whether you be watching on YouTube or Spotify, whatever, give it a like, give it a share. Till next time, for me and Danny, take care, everyone. Stay safe, wash those hands, come in your irons, and we'll see you again very, very soon.
Take care.
Take care.